So today we're going to talk about what is logic. Let's get into it. So what is logic? I'm Thunderhawk Coaching Will here, and today we're going to talk about that. So logic is the tool we use to make sense of the world that we live in, right? We get these signals in our bodies from the world, and we connect the bits of information together to create something that feels coherent, that makes sense, right? This, in a lot of situations, is really useful, right? Because we think, oh, a thing happened, and then a thing was affected by function B, and then function B resulted in outcome C, right? That can be like really helpful and really useful in a lot of aspects of our lives. And for a lot of people, logic is the cornerstone of how they navigate their world and how they understand themselves. I love a bit of logic myself. I talk a lot from logic. But I guess some things I want to highlight here about some of the pitfalls of logic, some of the challenges that come with being really logic orientated. And one of them I want to highlight immediately is that, you know, as I said before, my definition of kind of getting a bit of data B and processing data B through a filter and get outcome C, it's kind of emotionally removed from like the sensations, right? It's like a degree of separation from your experience and how you process and understand it by jamming it through the filters. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but when we have challenging emotions that we try and process, right? In my opinion, action comes from the processing and the release of emotions. If we're just operating from a point of logic, we then can't feel those emotions. If we can't feel those emotions, we end up running in our own little logical circles, okay? And as we run into those like logical loops over and over, that's how we get stuck. So we need to like really understand logic, understand how we use logic. And it can be as simple in the ways that we go, hey, like, I think this, or A plus B equals C makes sense, right? And it does make sense, but sometimes we run into a lot of challenges in life that aren't solved with making sense. They're solved with acknowledging what is and not trying to push something or move something. So, for example, in my instance, I could be like, hey, I feel sad, right? I just feel sad. And like logically, I could be like, well, I feel sad because something sad happened, or something didn't go the way I hoped it would, or something else, right? I'm putting a rationalization on top to kind of explain my emotion via kind of an emotionally driven logic, right? Nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it does take me out of the feeling. Okay, so sad is here, so we know sad is here, and we know sad is here because of something sad happening. We're creating a bit of distance from that and going, okay, instead of just being like, I'm sad, no more words, no more thinking, no more understanding, just I am sad. We don't do that enough in the world now. I feel we all need to do it more. I did it the other day in a therapy consultation because I take my own well-being very seriously. And I was asked to slow down here, right? It's so easy to fall into this. Hey, you're just like putting logic on top of it. And I am putting logic on top of it because I'm used to, I guess, having to be logical and explaining things. And this comes from like our sense of self, our ego, our societies being kind of really problem solve orientated. When we want to solve things, we put logic on top of things to make things kind of coherent and create our own story. And that story really highlights to me a lot of the things we're trying to protect ourselves from. We're trying to get ahead of. We're in the future mind, right? If we're really present and we're just like, I feel sad, full stop, we're not applying logic to it. We're not trying to solve the sadness. We're not trying to categorize the sadness. We're just being with the sadness. And then we can really feel it and digest it. Okay? So we all want to make sense of the world, right? The world on the surface is like chaotic and random, right? Stuff just happens. It's a biological mechanism that we'll find ourselves in that's constantly morphing and evolving, right? And I'm saying all of this from logic. But we're born of this chaos. We're born of this biological mishmash of an incalculable amount of things reacting off each other, chemically combining with each other, all kinds of stuff, man. And our emotions are signals that tell us, hey, something's up, right? And a lot of us learned, hey, we need to solve those feelings. And when we solve those feelings, we kind of say, hey, this doesn't deserve space. We don't need to sit with this. We need to do our feelings. And in my overwhelming experience, personally and professionally, your feelings don't move. You just skim over them quicker, right? When you fast, your feelings last. When you're slow, your feelings go. So when you think about logic, when you think about how you're understanding your experience, that's going to come from a point of you trying to protect yourself from the chaos of the world. A very, very logical explanation. But often what a lot of us need is not to be logical, but to feel what we feel. Men especially really not great at this. There's a phrase, there's a subclinical kind of label people put on men especially. It's called alexithymia, and it's the idea that there's kind of an emotional color blindness. So we understand our emotions less readily than women generally are, but women are also being affected by this because of technology addiction. But I think it's also the pace of our lives. We need to do more. We're told to do more. We're told to push harder. We're in challenging environments. We've got to do more at work. We've got to pay off the mortgage. We've got to take care of the kids. We've got to get the new high score on the new video game. We've got to grind. We've got to push. We've got to be more. But in matters of the heart, less is often the way. We want to be connected. We want to emotionally sink into and really feel something. And if we use logic on top of everything, what can we do? You know, as you're watching this video now, you might be getting bored because there's a feeling underneath you that wants to come out. And boredom can create a lot of space for a lot of stuff you don't want to sit with. I'm rationalizing that away right now. Rationalizing it. Logicking right on top of it. But it can be really challenging to undo that because it's so common, it's so normalized. It's, hey, well, what's the solution then? What's the solution? How do you do this? How do you do that? We demand more. We expect more. Those expectations are built of logical fallacies. So, also something I want to impart to all of you wonderful beings is that our logic is very, very tainted and flawed. Everyone's. Because our logic is built off our kind of emotional baseline, right? Our emotional baseline is not consistent. So, like, we can say things that will feel logical. I said things that feel logical, but they're not often when we get other points of view. So, like, our logic is not objective. It is subjective because it's fueled by our subjective view of the world. Some might say, well, 1 + 1 = 2. That's subjective, isn't it? Yes, but the path you went through in your head was individual to process that. Individual, subjective. So there isn't a subjective. There isn't a logical objective in the world because we all have different views on how we should logically use 1 + 1 = 2 in the discussion we're having right now. All of this is a big organism that we live in, a big collective that we're all a part of. And I believe that we try and create logical ideas to try and create a degree of consistency in the chaos. But really, I think we should all be embracing the chaos because the world's chaotic. Sorry, guys. Things aren't going to go as you planned. And when we lean into logic more and more, we get stuck because we have this, well, A plus B equals C. And the world's going, well, actually, A divided by 7 is 35 right now. Next week it might be B divided by 1 is 92. It's changing. Your equations also need to change with it. One final thing I'm going to say on this video, being fluid is going to serve you a lot better than being rigid. And logic promotes rigidity. Logic says, well, this is a universal truth. And I believe there aren't universal truths. I believe there's only the flow that we're in the moment. Because all we want is connection. All we want is to be acknowledged. All we want is to feel close to people. And I'm going to leave that there for today. You've been wonderful. I've been Will, Thunderhawk Coaching. Good luck. Flow. Don't row. Just flow. Take care of yourself. See you soon.